So you go to El Salvador today, nearly, almost more than half, the statistics of the murder rate are approaching that of a civil war. That is to say, not quite, but almost as many people die in violent crime in El Salvador today as did during the Civil War. Guatemala, forget it, it's terrible. And the violence and the culture of homicide and corruption goes into the presidential palace. Mexico, we've seen. Why is there a war in Mexico? Because one part of the state is going to war with another part of the state. What part of the state has it gone to war with? With that part of the state that had already become criminal. Just to give you an example, most people will be able to find a way to survive, even if they're living in a shack. We all see this, even in some of the favelas in Brazil. You see these extraordinary things where kids come out in perfectly, clean uniforms and they go to schools in the city and they go back to their miserable lives. But it's because they're learning. And even their parents recognize it. Almost all the criminals that I met who were 30 and over talked to me honestly about their desire for their children not to follow them. They recognized that what they were doing was wrong, and they had no choice but to continue it, because the state hasn't given them an opportunity to do anything else. And in the end, that's what it would be in Cuba.
How do you see the future of Cuba after Castro brothers?
I refuse to be an oracle on that one. Cubans are very resourceful people. Much depends on how quickly they do what we were just talking about, which is allow people to live dignified lives. If it goes on for too much longer, I predict problems, really big social problems. Because you have a large underclass of people who have, for more than a generation, not had fulfilled lives, and who have nothing to do. And this is a terrible situation. So, but on the other hand, I'm always hopeful because of the nature of the Cubans. They're, as I say, very resourceful people. They're naturally talented. They're gifted in human relations. There's many jokes about the Cubans. You don't need to. The Cubans will always survive. This is both a virtue and it can be a defect. But I think that unless they do make some moves to empower the Cubans soon economically, as they've said they're going to, but they're going very slowly, then there's going to be huge social problems when the two Castro brothers die.
What about Haiti? What is the way out?
Haiti is the ultimate failure of both as a state itself and of the Western community. It's been an experiment for every kind of development aid and charity and intervention in the last 50, 60 years. And do you know something? 50 years ago, 55 years ago, it was regarded as the future breadbasket of the Caribbean. It was a garden state. It was not deforested. People were poor, but they didn't live in absolute misery. And now you have a situation in which they've been devastated by the worst earthquake ever in modern times in our hemisphere, which has killed, 1 out of every 3 or 4 Haitians in the capital. And like you, I've been there, and my heart goes out to Haiti and the Haitians, and I feel a kind of feeling of responsibility, just because I'm from the same hemisphere. And it seems to me shameful that Haiti is allowed to be so miserable in our midst for so long. And it's not good enough anymore to say, but it's like Africa in the New World, or we've tried everything, or I've heard every kind of dismissal, or you can't give them anything, they'll ruin it. I've heard all of these. But I went to this city, And beyond the destruction of the earthquake, I saw rivers that hadn't flowed in years, and which were full, like 15 feet of rubbish. What were the NGOs doing there? What does the UN do there, other than drive around pointing guns at people? I don't know. I know there's a lot of well-intentioned people, but somehow the sum total of all of our efforts has done nothing to improve the lives of the Haitians. And it seems to me, I don't know, the best possible thing, the only thing, the one thing none of us have tried would be a kind of Marshall Plan of education for Haiti, just for Haiti, in which we do a 5 or a 10-year plan on a really massive scale. Nothing, not these little piecemeal things like we do, but no, a true massive scale to educate the Haitians, give them the opportunity to be educated, and to flood that country with teachers and instructors, volunteers from our own countries, from France, from Brazil, from the United States, young people who want to do something, create a situation where they can go and volunteer a year of their time to work in Haiti. Why should Haiti not see the best of us? If we could send the best of us, which would be our young people, to work and teach alongside Haitians for a year or two over a 5 or 10 year period, surely that would have a good effect. Surely that would be better than sending soldiers in helmets or allowing evangelists to go and do little piecemeal things, or the UN and with its huge bureaucracy, where the first thing they do is buy themselves $50,000 SUVs and rent air-conditioned houses, and then begin their programs of aid and development. No, we need to send 10,000 volunteers to teach and work with the Haitians from kindergarten through to technical school and university for 10 years. We've never done anything like that. I think we need to think once again in the West on a big scale, and nobody has for a very long time. A New Deal, but for Haiti, because it's all of our responsibility. And you know, we can't maybe change their poverty, but people with education, people with knowledge skills, can change their own condition. And this hasn't been done before.
And you can do that with the same money the country is putting inside Haiti. Don't you agree?
I agree. You know, no, I mean, I know a lot of people that if there was a system, there's a lot of young people who would gladly, if they felt they had the opportunity to go and help, they would do it. But we need to create the structure for them to do this. And this isn't to say that Haitians can't help themselves. Of course they can. But one thing I've seen is that the Haitians don't know. They don't know things. And they don't know things because they haven't been taught things. Why would you continue to deforest your mountains if you knew that doing so only increases your misery? Well, the only reason they do that is because they don't know any better. So, you know, to me, we need to think like the Chinese. You know, the Chinese, the African countries, we are upset about it in the West, that the Africans are taking all the Africans' minerals in exchange for building them roads. And it's true. Well, why didn't we build them those roads? I don't know. And why is it that it takes us so long to do anything anymore? Because we need to put it out on a contractor system. And who gets the contracts? Our own companies. So the Chinese come in and they build a road that it takes us 5 years and $12 billion to build. They build it for $300 million in 8 months. We need to be like the Chinese, but on behalf of people like the Haitians, so that we can kind of also find ourselves again. Think simpler.
The last question. Are you thinking about write a fiction novel?
You know, people ask me this every so often. I usually find the reality so vivid and all-absorbing that I can't really conceive of writing fiction. Maybe one day. At the moment, I'm too busy living reality and writing it.